much of an impact will RFK Jr.'s suspension of his campaign and endorsement of Trump have on the campaign? Larry Sharpe is the National Organizing Director for American Values 2024. Joining me now to discuss. Larry, welcome to the show.
Hey, so happy to be here, Stacy. Thank you.
All right, so let's talk about this. It was a announcement that shook the political moorings of the two-party system. And that was the announcement that RFK Jr. would, at the time, be leaving the Democrats and become an independent and run as an independent in this election cycle. And then he began the methodical process of getting on the ballots and did very well in that effort, although he was fighting super PACs funded with hundreds of millions of dollars that the Democrats stood up to prevent him from getting on the ballot. And then he announced he'd be leaving the initial race that he had started as an independent to endorse President Trump because he feels so strongly that a Harris-Walz administration would work against his ultimate goals.
Well, let me touch a couple pieces if I could. Yes, he actually went out of his way to fight, and I'm not joking, $1 billion of Democratic Party dollars. I'm not exaggerating. The Clear Choice PAC, I also call CCP. The CCP actually has spent its time going out of its way trying to throw all of us off of the ballot, right? Many people across the entire country trying to throw them off the ballot, particularly, though, focusing on Bobby Kennedy Jr. in over 12 states. Lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit. And the problem is they send their lawyers and then the Democrats don't have to show up. Bobby has to show up. He's got to show up in Pennsylvania one day, then New York the next day. So he's paying for security and all those things. He's paying for travel. And he can't spend his time campaigning. And the worst part is this cost him about $20 million total, give or take, about $20 million. That's $20 million Democrats, Republicans don't have to spend. And you might say to yourself, well, Larry, it's the law. Great. Did Harris have to do it? Did Biden have to do it? Does Trump have to do it? No. Only the independent has to drop $20 million and get sued off of the ballot in 6, 7, 8, 10 states. So yes, at one point they go, what am I doing? Not just that, they colluded again. Bobby Kennedy Jr. had a lawsuit against Biden and won. Biden actually is responsible for keeping him off of social media, for censoring him, and also for keeping him out of debates. That's a fact. Federal judges have already said so. So they keep you out of debates. They keep you off social media. They make you spend $20 million to get in the ballot, and they call you names all day long and keep you out of the media, period. At one point, what can you do? You can understand why anybody would decide to make a change of tactic and why somebody would be upset about the Democratic Party, which has said that, sadly, to save democracy, they must destroy it. Of course you want to make a step and do something else. But one piece of clarity, if I may, he has not dropped out. He has not stopped. He has simply agreed to work with Trump in certain states. And those states are the swing states, about 7 to 10 states, which will be announced coming up here soon. He's pulling his name off of the ballot in some of those states, to the best of his ability. Democrats are now suing to keep him on the ballot in those states now, which is even crazier, showing you that the Democrats did not care at all about the law or voting rights. They cared about winning and winning only. So now he will do that to ensure that in those swing states, the chances are much higher in actually Trump winning. He's staying on the ballot in states that are deep red and deep blue, where getting 5% won't matter, right? Trump is not going to win California, right? We know this. Harris is not going to win Oklahoma, right? We get that already, no matter what happens. So putting 5% of the vote on Kennedy, which is the secondary goal of the campaign always, which is to get an independent movement still moving. He declared his independence this year. He was serious about that declaration. We want to have an independent movement here in the United States. Getting 5% of the total vote across the entire country could help us make that happen. So he's saying, vote for him in the states that are deep red and deep blue. Don't do that in the swing states, and Trump will probably win the election. And the odds are very high he will with that. Yes.
Yes. And so I saw the announcement almost immediately after it was, I think, within 48 hours of him saying that he was going to remove his ballot in some of the states, that some of the states said, yeah, you know what, we won't allow Cornel West on the ballot here, but you're staying on. So,
correct.
Good luck with getting on.
Yes, yeah. Absolutely. The entire piece is so obvious. It is not about the law. It's not about fairness. It is about we want to win whatever the cost. And we don't want to put up a candidate that actually has decent ideas. We don't want you to hear that we have actually policies to help the country. No, we have the right answers. you poor people, be quiet. You're too dumb. Democrats know better. Just elect us and we will give you the amount of democracy that you deserve because we know better. That's what's happening now. And I wish it wasn't true, right? For those of us who have a little bit of gray hair, remember, the Democratic Party wasn't always this bad. You look at the 1970s, 1980s, they weren't this bad at all. I don't know what they've become. They've become something that is not even close. I mean, if you were a Kennedy Democrat in the 60s and 70s, you don't know what this party is anymore.
So I just join you in that that analysis, because I love the way you put that. And your website, where this is your actual work product here, av24.org. When you scroll down, what I find so fascinating about this independent movement is that many of the issues that he's highlighting here that are very important to him as a candidate, and for those who support his candidacy, which I have been really stunned by how many people that I actually know and am close to who are working on the Kennedy campaign. I mean, these are people that I love and respect, and they're working on the Kennedy campaign. And so it's a serious movement. You talk here about the number of independents it takes to win an election, but then if you stroll down and you start talking about the issues, taking down the war machine, restoring the dream of home ownership, clean air, water, and food, uniting the country. These are the issues the Democrats used to have as a core. All of their policies were built around these things. This is the new Democrats, or maybe the blue dog Democrats, basically saying we've had enough and forming their own movement.
100%. Remember, Kennedy used to be a Democrat. That was the party he thought. He thought that was his party. Clearly, that's not the case. But he believed it, which is why if you saw when he was talking, and to be forward, Nicole Shanahan, too, as vice president, they are visibly hurt because they feel betrayed. You know, Nicole Shanahan, his VP, she was a big donor for the Democrats. She gave lots of money. She thought this was the movement. And when she watched that complete betrayal, of course she's upset. Of course he's upset. This is betrayal by is how they feel. And that's why we're still pushing to get an independent party, right? The 5% piece that I bring up means if 5%, a give or take about 8 million Americans, give or take, if 8 million Americans vote for Bobby Kennedy Jr. in the non-swing states, deep blue, deep red states, if they do that, you're actually making impact, right? I live in New York State. Harris is going to win my state. If I vote for Harris or Trump, I've thrown my vote away because we know what's going to happen. My votes are going to go to Harris no matter what I do. That's how the Electoral College works. That's how the winner-take-all state works. She's going to get my votes no matter what I do. But the popular vote is different. If I vote for Bobby Kennedy Jr. in the popular vote, that will count towards the 5%, and I will put 1 grain of sand on that 8 million sand beach. And if we do that, now we have an opportunity to have an actual third party. Why does that matter? Because what you just said, the issues, when you have the left-right paradigm, when you have Trump and Harris fighting, all they do is yell how bad the other one is. The Democrats' entire platform is orange man bad. That's their entire platform, right? So, but when you put somebody else in that mix in the coming years, in the coming months, now it's not that. Now it's, okay, how are you going to help me with housing? How are you going to help me with the American dream? How are we going to bring not just inflation down, but affordability down, right? Inflation's already bad. How do we bring affordability down? How do we get more jobs? How do we stop the endless wars? This comes out with a third party, a third movement, which is why it's so important. Do what you got to do in the swing states. I get it. You live in Pennsylvania, I understand, right? I get Michigan, I understand. You live in Oklahoma, you live in California, what are you doing? What are you doing? Well, Bobby Kennedy Jr.
What are you doing? I'm going to have to say it with your New York accent because it sounds so much cooler. So just a couple of issues. And I think one of the ones that has been most consequential for me as a Republican listening to Bobby Kennedy talk has been his discussion about the food issue, the food and health. And so we're out of time here. I guess what I can say going into the weekend is I hope you'll come back so we can delve into that, because there's so much about his position on food and health that is so important for Americans to understand. We'll talk to you again before this election cycle is over.
But there are two things that he said which are important. He says, fix the money, fix the country, but also fix the family, fix the country. And that includes kids and health and children. Yes.
I love it. Larry Sharpe, National Organizing Director for American Values 24. Good to talk to you, sir. Have a great weekend.
Thanks for having me.